What if I told you that the most iconic, legendary, and expensive supercar brand in human history was created by a man who genuinely hated the idea of selling road cars? Today, the name Ferrari is universally recognized as the ultimate symbol of wealth, speed, and automotive perfection. When people see that black prancing horse over a bright yellow shield, they picture multi-million-dollar hypercars, roaring V12 engines, and an ultra-exclusive lifestyle that money alone cannot always buy. But behind the glitz and glamour of Maranello lies a dark, chaotic history fueled by war, personal tragedy, bankruptcies, and a founder whose ruthless obsession with winning races almost destroyed his own legacy. Ferrari was never meant to be a luxury car manufacturer. It was born out of pure defiance, constructed amidst the ruins of World War II, and forged through some of the bitterest personal rivalries the automotive world has ever seen. In this complete documentary breakdown, we're going to trace the entire unfiltered history of Ferrari, from a young boy in 1908 falling in love with racing, to the creation of bulletproof legal blacklists, historic track wars against Ford and Lamborghini, and their modern-day revolution into hybrid powerhouses and groundbreaking hypercars. To truly understand Ferrari, you first have to understand the complex, uncompromising mind of Enzo Ferrari. Born in Modena, Italy, in 1898, Enzo's destiny was set in motion at just 10 years old when his father took him to a motor race in Bologna. Mesmerized by the noise, dust, and danger, young Enzo became obsessed with racing. However, his early life was hit by devastating tragedies. During World War I, both his father and his older brother passed away from a severe flu outbreak, leaving Enzo completely broke and struggling to survive. After being rejected for a job at Fiat, a young and determined Enzo managed to land a position as a test driver, eventually joining Alfa Romeo in the 1920s as a race car driver. It didn't take long for Enzo to realize that his true genius didn't lie behind the steering wheel, but rather in organizing teams, managing mechanics, and pushing drivers to their absolute limits. In December 1929, Enzo founded the Scuderia Ferrari in Modena. But here is the detail most casual fans miss. Scuderia Ferrari did not manufacture a single car. It operated strictly as a racing team that prepared and modified Alfa Romeo race cars for wealthy gentleman drivers. By 1933, Alfa Romeo officially withdrew its in-house racing team and handed full control of their motorsports operations to Enzo, turning Scuderia Ferrari into Alfa Romeo's official racing arm. Enzo built an unstoppable team of legendary drivers, winning dozens of races across Europe. By the late 1930s, severe disagreements between Enzo Ferrari and Alfa Romeo's management forced Enzo to walk away in 1939. However, the severance agreement came with a harsh legal condition. Due to a non-compete clause, Enzo was strictly forbidden from using his own last name, Ferrari, on any vehicle or racing enterprise for 4 full years. Undeterred, Enzo immediately used his payout to found a new company called Auto Avio Costruzioni in his old workshop in Modena. In 1940, he built his very first original car, the AAC 815. Only 2 units were ever built, and it raced just once before world history intervened. The outbreak of World War II completely halted all European motorsports. During the war, Enzo had to adapt to survive. To keep his factory operating and preserve his team, he struck lucrative contracts with the Italian military to manufacture machine tools and aircraft engine components. Fearing heavy Allied bombing raids in Modena, Enzo relocated his entire manufacturing facility in 1943 to a small, quiet town called Maranello, a location that would become the permanent sacred home of the brand to this day. Despite the move, the Maranello factory was bombed and heavily damaged twice during Allied air raids. Undeterred by the destruction, Enzo rebuilt the Maranello factory as soon as the war ended. In 1945, with a non-compete clause expired, the company officially adopted the name we know today, Ferrari. Enzo commissioned legendary engineer Gioacchino Colombo to design a brand new V12 engine, a masterpiece of mechanical engineering that would define Ferrari's signature sound for generations. In May 1947, the very first official Ferrari-badged road car emerged from the gates of Maranello, the Ferrari 125S, powered by a tiny 1.5-liter V12 producing just 118 horsepower. It proved its worth almost instantly by winning 6 of its first 10 races, setting the stage for an empire built on speed. By the early 1950s, Ferrari had established itself as a formidable force on the global stage, competing simultaneously in Formula One and world sports car racing. The 1950s and early 1960s became known as the golden era of endurance racing, and Ferrari dominated the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans with an iron fist. Machines like the 250 Testarossa and the legendary 250 GTO, now considered the most valuable automobile in Leilão history, took victory after victory, winning Le Mans 6 consecutive times between 1960 and 1965. However, behind the triumphs on the racetrack, Enzo Ferrari was facing unimaginable personal heartbreak. His only legitimate son, Alfredo Dino Ferrari, born in 1932, was being groomed to take over the family empire. Dino was a brilliant young engineer who helped design a revolutionary V6 engine alongside Vittorio Jano. But Dino suffered from Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and his health rapidly deteriorated. In June 1956, at just 24 years old, Dino passed away. Devastated by the loss, Enzo wore dark sunglasses for the rest of his life as a sign of mourning and named his new line of mid-engine V6 cars Dino in honor of his late son. The loss hardened Enzo even further, deepening his cold, calculating demeanor toward his drivers and business associates. Enzo Ferrari's stubbornness and notoriously difficult personality were legendary, but in the early 1960s, his arrogance accidentally created his fiercest rival. Ferruccio Lamborghini was a wealthy Italian industrialist who made a fortune manufacturing tractors and heating systems after World War II. As a lover of fast machinery, Ferruccio owned several Ferraris, including a 250 GT. However, Ferruccio repeatedly experienced issues with the clutch on his Ferrari, which broke frequently. Being a master mechanic himself, Ferruccio dismantled the car and discovered that the clutch Ferrari used was the exact same cheap, off-the-shelf component he installed in his farm tractors, except Ferrari charged a massive markup for it. Ferruccio drove to Maranello to confront Enzo Ferrari directly, offering constructive advice on how to improve the clutch and transmission. Enzo, who detested being criticized by anyone outside of his inner circle, infamously dismissed him, saying, "The problem isn't the car, it's the driver. You know how to drive a tractor, but you don't know how to drive a Ferrari. Go back to your tractors and leave the sports cars to me." Insulted and furious, Ferruccio vowed to prove Enzo wrong. He immediately hired former Ferrari engineers, built a state-of-the-art factory in Sant'Agata Bolognese, and founded Automobili Lamborghini in 1963, giving birth to a fierce rivalry that continues to this day. While the feud with Lamborghini was brewing on home soil, a much larger corporate storm was heading for Maranello across the Atlantic. By 1963, running a world-class racing team and developing bespoke road cars had pushed Ferrari to the brink of financial ruin. Hearing of Ferrari's financial struggles, Henry Ford II sent an executive team to Italy to buy the company. After months of intense audits and negotiations, a $16 million deal was finalized to create Ford Ferrari. However, during the final contract review, Enzo noticed a tiny clause stipulating that Ford would control the racing budget and decide whether Ferrari could enter specific races. Realizing he would lose total control of his beloved Scuderia, Enzo unleashed a barrage of Italian insults at the Ford executives, walked out of the room, and canceled the deal on the spot. Enraged by the humiliation, Henry Ford II ordered his motorsports department to build a car that would crush Ferrari where it hurt the most, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Ford poured tens of millions of dollars into developing the legendary Ford GT40. After 2 years of embarrassing mechanical failures, Ford brought in Carroll Shelby, and in 1966, the GT40 achieved a historic 1-2-3 finish at Le Mans, ending Ferrari's 6-year winning streak. Ford would go on to win Le Mans 4 times in a row from 1966 to 1969. Knowing he could not fight global automotive giants on his own budget, Enzo turned to an Italian ally in 1969, Gianni Agnelli, the head of Fiat. Fiat purchased 50% of Ferrari's shares, providing the massive capital injection needed to save the company. Crucially, the deal allowed Enzo to retain 100% control over the racing division until his death, securing the future of the prancing horse. By the mid-1980s, the automotive landscape was shifting dramatically. Supercars were becoming more refined, luxurious, and technologically complex, led by rivals like Porsche with their groundbreaking 959. But Enzo Ferrari, now in his late 80s and sensing his time was short, wanted to leave the world one final, unfiltered gift. He commanded his team to build an uncompromising machine, a raw, street-legal race car that prioritized lightweight and visceral speed above all else. In 1987, to celebrate the company's 40th anniversary, the world was introduced to the Ferrari F40. Constructed with lightweight Kevlar and carbon fiber panels, sliding plastic windows, no door handles, no power steering, no ABS, and a twin-turbocharged V8 engine producing 471 horsepower, the F40 became the first production road car to shatter the 200 miles per hour, 320 kilometers per hour barrier. It was raw, dangerous, and utterly breathtaking. Just 1 year later, on August 14, 1988, Enzo Ferrari passed away at his home in Maranello at the age of 90. His death marked the end of an era, prompting Fiat to expand its ownership stake in the company to 90%, preserving the legacy of Il Commendatore. Following Enzo's death, the 1990s brought both corporate reorganization and a deep championship drought in Formula One. Ferrari had not won a Drivers' World Championship since 1979 with Jody Scheckter. To turn the ship around, new president Luca Cordero di Montezemolo made a series of bold, calculated moves. In 1996, Ferrari hired two-time world champion Michael Schumacher, alongside brilliance in team management with Jean Todt and tactical mastermind Ross Brawn. The initial years were filled with agonizing close calls and heartbreak, but by the turn of the millennium, this dream team forged the most dominant empire in Formula One history. From 2000 to 2004, Michael Schumacher won 5 consecutive world championships, backed by 6 straight constructors' titles for Ferrari. The Crimson Cars were virtually unstoppable, setting record after record, and cementing Ferrari's status as the undisputed heart and soul of global motorsport. This racing dominance trickled directly into their road car division, inspiring halo cars like the V12, powered Ferrari Enzo in 2002, which utilized F1, derived carbon ceramic brakes, and active aerodynamics. As Ferrari's global brand value skyrocketed throughout the 2000s, management realized that keeping the brand at the absolute peak of luxury required a paradox: selling fewer cars while demand exploded. Ferrari intentionally capped its production numbers to create artificial scarcity, transforming the act of buying a new Ferrari into an exclusive, highly guarded privilege. To qualify for hypercars like the LaFerrari, buyers couldn't just walk into a showroom with a briefcase full of cash. They had to prove a long history of owning multiple standard Ferrari models. Simultaneously, the brand built a reputation for enforcing some of the strictest legal rules and corporate control in corporate history. Owners signed agreements giving dealerships right of first refusal to prevent flipping cars for quick profits within the first year of ownership. Furthermore, Ferrari's legal department actively protects its image against unauthorized modifications. When electronic musician deadmau5 wrapped his 458 Italia in a sky blue Nyan Cat theme and replaced the factory badges with custom Ferrari logos, Ferrari promptly served him with a cease and desist letter, forcing him to restore the car to factory condition. From enforcing a strict no-pink factory paint policy to blacklisting high-profile celebrities who disrespect the prancing horse, Maranello made one thing abundantly clear. When you buy a Ferrari, you're merely a temporary custodian of their artwork, and the brand always holds the final say. As the automotive world entered the 2010s, environmental regulations and technological limits pushed engineers toward electrification. For many purists, the idea of adding batteries and electric motors to a Ferrari sounded like sacrilege. But Maranello viewed it differently. Electricity was not a compromise. It was an unfair advantage. In 2013, the world witnessed the launch of LaFerrari, a limited production hypercar that combined a screaming 6.3-liter V12 engine with a Formula One-derived HYKRS electric motor system. Producing a staggering 950 combined horsepower, LaFerrari proved that hybrid tech could elevate supercar performance rather than mute it. 6 years later, Ferrari took an even bolder step with the SF90 Stradale in 2019. Featuring a twin-turbo V8 paired with 3 electric motors, it became the brand's first plug-in hybrid, PHEV, production car, pushing output past the 1,000 horsepower milestone and delivering all-wheel drive acceleration. By seamlessly blending classic combustion engines with modern electric torque, Ferrari ensured its cars remained at the absolute pinnacle of speed in a changing world. For decades, Enzo Ferrari held a firm rule. Maranello would never build a 4-door passenger car, and certainly never an SUV. As competitors like Lamborghini launched the Urus and Porsche dominated sales with the Cayenne, critics wondered if Ferrari would cave to corporate market trends. In late 2022, Maranello finally answered, not with a generic SUV, but with the Ferrari Purosangue. Meaning thoroughbred in Italian, the Purosangue defied standard SUV conventions. Instead of borrowing a mass-market platform, Ferrari engineered a low-slung, rear mid-engined layout featuring hidden welcome-style coach doors and a naturally aspirated 6.5-liter V12 producing 715 horsepower. It was an engineering masterclass that preserved supercar balance while offering 4 seats. Demand exploded so rapidly that Ferrari had to temporarily pause order books to preserve exclusivity, proving once again that even when Maranello breaks its own rules, it does so entirely on its own terms. While modern road cars reached unprecedented commercial success, Ferrari's true soul remained tied to endurance racing. 50 years after withdrawing its factory team from top-tier sports car racing in 1973, Ferrari announced a historic return to the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2023 with a 499p hypercar. In a poetic echo of their 1960s glory days, the 499p claimed an incredible overall victory at Le Mans on its very first attempt in 2023. Proving it was no fluke, Ferrari repeated history by winning Le Mans again in 2024 and securing a legendary third consecutive victory in 2025. Today, as the automotive industry charges into an all-electric future, Ferrari faces its next great trial. With the debut of their first fully electric production hypercar, designed to deliver over 1,000 horsepower with custom acoustic tuning, Maranello enters uncharted territory. Yet, whether powered by gasoline, hybrid batteries, or pure electricity, the fundamental spirit of Enzo Ferrari remains unchanged, an unyielding obsession with performance, beauty, and absolute dominance. From a young boy watching race cars in 1908 to a global titan that commands respect in showrooms and on racetracks worldwide, Ferrari's history is a century-long masterclass in passion and resilience. It survived world wars, corporate takeovers, personal tragedy, and fierce corporate wars against Ford and Lamborghini. Today, the prancing horse is no longer just a car manufacturer. It is a cultural institution, a symbol of human ambition, and a living testament to what happens when you refuse to compromise. If you made it this far and enjoyed this complete documentary on the history of Ferrari, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Golden Era Motors so you don't miss the next deep dive in our legendary car brand series. Leave a comment down below and tell me, if you could park any Ferrari from this story in your garage right now, which one would it be? The raw F40, the roaring LaFerrari, or the classic 250 GTO? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.